Hello and welcome to another episode of Melbourne 22. I'm Aaron McCarthy.
And I'm Anna Burgess. Now, on tonight's show, we dive into the depths of cinema in Melbourne.
That we do. We've got a member of Melbourne Ice coming on in.
We get into some insight of how it is, what it's like to be a guitar teacher, and we meet a group that want to show you how you can live more sustainably.
All that and more coming right up on Melbourne 22. Hello and welcome to Melbourne 22. We've got a packed show in store for you tonight, but just before we get started, here's a little reminder that you can follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just to keep up to date with things. You know how it is, right here on Melbourne 22. And if you have anything that you'd like to share or ask us, keep it clean, but just don't hesitate to get in touch at the addresses below.
And breathe and out. Yeah, that's right, Aaron. Now, Melbourne is a city that loves the arts and has a particular passion for cinema. Melbourne was once known as the city of theatres, with some theatres dating as far back as 1901.
That's a long way back, Anna.
I know, I was alive. No, I wasn't.
So why is it the Melbournians, or Melbournes, as I like to call them, can't get enough of the cinema? Let's find out.
If you think about Melbourne's culture in the past, fledgling artists and actors coming together and creating art in new and interesting ways that was possibly, outside of what had been done in the past.
I think there are a lot of people who are discovering the joys of what you might call classic cinema. Certainly the joys of non-mainstream cinema.
This is kind of an age where people want to impress one another with what they do with their spare time.
There's such a wide variety of different films to enjoy and sit back.
I think that Melburnians are always in search of the next interesting thing to do. I think society's heading in a direction where people want to be doing things in order to tell other people that they've done them. This weekend I went and I saw this incredible movie, or this weekend I went and saw this incredible play, or I went to this bar that I had to walk down 2 laneways and it was behind a door that didn't say.
You can go for a good storyline, or you can sit back and just have a laugh at some cheesy comedies.
We all love the Astor for many, many different reasons, but to pull together a lot of them, it is unique, because a lot of what we do preserves ways of cinema going.
The future of cinema and future of kind of content viewing is at a precipice. There's a lot of things that are on the horizon that we've got to anticipate. I think that it's kind of the foundations of culture in Melbourne that have helped to create what we all know and I think we all kind of appreciate by living here.
I do think we're very well served for it.
I think the most exciting thing is obviously seeing the film itself.
Just getting lost for a couple of hours, just getting completely enthralled.
The thing that really makes a movie going special is the shared experience. It's about being in that audience. And when a movie's really great, you can kind of all react together, and I think that's a really fun part of going to the movies.
Anna, isn't it fantastic that we can still get out there and have that amazing old-fashioned cinema experience with some of those beautiful theatres we've still got on hand for us?
Absolutely. Just the other night I went to the Rivoli, so beautiful, just so art deco. And then the other day I went to the Sun Theatre and they make homemade choc tops over there. And the Astor Theatre. I know, we'll get there in a moment.
Yeah.
Now, we're actually joined today by 2 people who have a very strong interest in film. Tara Judah from the Astor Theatre and Ross King from the Cinema and Theatre History Society. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Now, Ross, you've had a lot of cinema experience in your time. How did you get involved in cinema in the first place?
I became fascinated with it as a child. We used to our family used to go to the movies quite a lot, and I always imagined that what was happening on the screen was actually happening behind the curtain, so that the curtain would reveal all of this. And my older brother pointed out to the beam of light above our head and said, "It comes from up there," and that got me hooked, and I went on from there. Had the interest, and as I got older, became an assistant projectionist, and then later projectionist, and an exhibitor in small country situations, and that's how it all happened. Yeah.
So Tara, have you noticed any changes in our cinema going habits in recent years?
Yeah, absolutely. We've noticed quite an interesting change, is that people are really a lot more interested in going to the cinema as an event that they can get involved with. So really audience participation is where things seem to be moving to. Getting dressed up in the likes of Rocky Horror Picture Show, singing along with things like Grease Sing Along, you know, even a few nuns and Nazis for the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, right.
Now, what do you think the future of cinema in Melbourne looks like?
Yeah, I think that this is really where things are going to be going. That kind of resurgence of cult classics, those films that people are excited about seeing up on the big screen once again, things that they enjoyed in their childhood, things that they can bring their own children to come and see. It's a real event to go to the cinema. It's got to be something that's different to just watching it on DVD in your home.
There's just nothing like that feeling. The lights go down, you're talking about it before, and do you still get a buzz? I mean, how long have you been at the Astor Theatre for?
Yeah, I've been at the Astor for about 2.5 years now, and my first experience of the Astor was as a teenager, and I saw the 70mm print of Hamlet on its re-release, which just completely blew me away. And to walk into the doors of the Astor, the minute that you step inside, the whole rest of the world slips away, and you're transported into the film world, into another time. You really can just click off from reality, engage with the film, and sit there in the dark with hundreds of other people who are sharing that really same special moment as you.
Yeah, it's so right, isn't it? It's like comparing sort of, you know, a plastic, you know, imported car from China as compared to an old classic, you know, the big steel frame chassis, you know, the leather, the smell. It's really an experience for the senses as well, isn't it? Because not only do you just walk in there and see an amazing visual experience with the movie, but you've actually got the theatre itself and the surrounds and the smells and the taste, the sights, the sounds. It's got a rich sound to it. Can you remember your first cinema going experience?
Yeah, it's difficult to recall the exact first one, but I think it might have been The Never-Ending Story. At least that's the first one I can recall. It came back to me recently. A beautiful film, and such artistry as well. I mean, Wolfgang Petersen's a complete genius, really.
And Ross, any ones that stand out to you from your childhood?
Oh, the first one I remember seeing was a film called Sitting Pretty with Clifton Webb. That was when I was very young, but there have been many since that I would say are my multiple favourite films.
Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. It was so lovely to meet you both. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again, guys. Well, each week we'll be hitting the streets to ask the public a series of on-the-spot questions. This week's question is, what is your favourite movie and why?
My favourite movie would have to be anything by Elvis Presley, Dean Martin, Tony Curtis, and of course Jerry Lewis get in there as well.
And Moulin Rouge.
Definitely Gone with the Wind. The house burning down at the end is absolutely fantastic.
Oh, mine's Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal. It's an absolute classic.
Snatch would be up there. That's probably one of my favourite ones.
Well, one is Gone with the Wind, one's To Kill a Mockingbird, the old classics.
The Big Lebowski.
My favourite movie of all time would probably have to be a movie called Benchwarmers.
I think I'm going to have to say Dogs in Space.
Love Bug.
My favourite movie of all time has to be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And the reason why that's my favourite is because there has never been a more badass movie ever made than that particular film.
Coming up next, we talk to Todd Graham from Melbourne Ice.
Welcome back to Melbourne 22. Now, not everyone is lucky enough to get paid to do the things they love, but today we spend 60 seconds with a guy who does exactly that.
The best thing about teaching guitar is that I get to play guitar, and that's my job. Yeah, music's the main priority in my life, both artistically and as a career. It takes up a lot of my time, always listening to music or playing music, which is what I always really wanted. A couple of days a week I teach at some primary schools. Teach there normally in groups of 2 or 3. Head over to Footscray where I teach privately. A lot of my private students are actually adults, so it's good to have a lot of variety. I've been working on a lot with my students now to make sure they can see how songs are written. You know, some people pick it up a lot quicker, have a natural ability. Be mindful of all the different things that are going on because you're using a lot of parts of your brain at the same time. Keeping yourself inspired, so you're going to stay passionate about music and just really, wanting to learn more.
Oh, and it's great to see people following their passions. You know what, with a name like Evan Silence, you'd think you'd be like into books or something, wouldn't you? Not a guitarist.
When you said you had something after that package and that was what you had, yeah, it's good.
I thought it was good. Everybody knows that Melbourne is the sporting capital of the world. Did you like that segue?
Yeah, segue kick, bang. There you go.
We have the Australian Open. We've got the Formula One Grand Prix, the AFL, big sporting arenas like the MCG, just to name a few.
But did you know that Melbourne is home to the reigning premiers in the Australian Ice Hockey League? Did you know that?
I did.
Oh, okay.
But I'm unique.
I didn't know that. Melbourne Ice have won the Goodall Cup for the past 3 years.
We thought that was something to be pretty proud of, so we went down to the Ice House in the Docklands to take a look at some action.
Oh, just a high impact sport, the quick pace, something that's different. It's not the everyday.
Intensity, the intensity of it. I think the anticipation of going to the offensive line and the anticipation of the goals, of the big hits, of the crowd, so just the atmosphere of the entire thing.
I got into this in 2010 when I first moved to the Ice House and been here every game since.
I've been an ice hockey fan for probably about 10 years. Just to have an appreciation for what's involved.
I made a lot of friends through coming to the games. Usually celebrating with our games.
The players are very approachable. They're easy to talk to. They're happy to talk to you, and they just feel like normal people.
The players come out after the game, meet the fans and autographs, photos, you name it. Also, after the game, after match function, players will have a meal and talk to you there, maybe even have a drink with you.
These boys are full-time workers themselves. They give up their time for us to come out here, and after every match they're out shaking our hands, saying hi to us. They're a great set of guys that are well worth every penny that they don't get paid.
Joining us in the studio is Melbourne Ice player Todd Graham. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in.
No worries.
Now, Todd, you're originally a Melbourne boy, or not? Where are you from?
Well, originally I was born in Sydney and then moved over to Minnesota in the States for my dad's work. And then when I was 6, we moved back to Sydney, and after a year there, we moved down to Melbourne, started living in Ringwood. When I just turned 13, me and my mates, we decided to switch over to ice hockey, and I never looked back. So.
Did it come from a passion of figure skating?
No, it didn't. Not at all.
What is that? These guys are tough guys.
I know, but I was actually just thinking to myself, watching that package, you guys move so beautifully across the ice. Like, where does it start? Do you start with hockey first, generally, and then where does it normally come from?
It all usually just comes on at once. You know, you got to be at the high levels of hockey, you've got to be a good skater, and you've got to have that down pat first, and then you get your hands. And fortunately, I played a lot of roller hockey when I was younger, and roller hockey's known more for hands and like finesse and stuff like that. Whereas ice hockey, you've got to have a lot of power and stability in your skating, and a lot of explosiveness as well. So at the same time, they came together for me when I was about 15, and then I got recruited to go overseas. So.
We were chatting earlier that the Melbourne Ice are reigning premiers 3 times in a row. Did you play in any of those premierships?
Yeah, I did. For the past, I think, 3 years we've won it. I've been coming back and playing the seasons. Unfortunately, I've only been able to play the last final series due to going back early for the start of my season at the late August. So just last year I had to start my freshman year of college in Buffalo, and only I think I had 2 weeks there, and then I had to fly back for 4 days to play the finals weekend, and we ended up winning it, which was
nice.
Which was a pretty good experience.
Well, Todd, I'm a pretty tough guy. Right, so no, look, just hear me out. And I mean, I've been known to pick up, a skinny chai latte without a napkin.
Yeah,
it's a tough game, ice hockey. What's the worst injury you've had?
I fortunately haven't had any serious injuries, but I was playing my last year of junior hockey in Hartford, Connecticut, and right where the skate touches the shin guard, usually there's a bit of area where there's no padding. Usually it's just covered by a sock or something like that. A guy was going to the bench, and the player who had a little bit of gap got a skate, and it cut the front of his leg. It was a pretty deep cut, and it cut through all his sock and all of his undergarments and stuff, and it just started spurting blood everywhere.
Oh.
And they had to, it was probably about half an hour where they had to scrape all the blood off the ice and Zamboni the whole thing, and it was pretty heavy. So
wow.
You feeling strong now, Aaron, after that story?
Yeah, no, I'll be right. Okay. Well, the big question is, can you go 4 in a row?
I think we can. We got a great group of guys this year and a solid core of leadership and some really good young talent coming through.
Awesome. Good luck. Cool. Nice to meet you, Todd.
Nice to meet you.
Cover your shins.
Yeah.
Don't want any blood from you. Now, don't forget, if you liked anything you've seen tonight, feel free to let us know on our Facebook, Twitter. We've also got Instagram as well. We really, really like hearing from you. Aaron's got Twitter as well, so tweet away, post whatever you like.
Tweet away. We get lonely. After the break, we'll spend some time with a group of people who are making it possible for anyone to eat and live more sustainably. I've really got to concentrate harder on these scripts.
And then we have the Zanes popping into the studio to play us a little tune. So don't go anywhere. Tonight's show is set to end with a bang.
After humble beginnings in Melbourne's outer eastern suburbs, a group called Permablitz have transformed over 100 backyards in Melbourne. The aim of Permablitz is to make permaculture an environmental design for sustainable architecture and agriculture, and more accessible for those who live and rent in an urban environment.
Permablitz is a reciprocal voluntary network of people interested in edible gardening.
We've always gardened organically, but never really had an opportunity to do a permaculture design.
Blitzes are held not just for the benefit of the person whose backyard it is. It's an initiative that provides education about permaculture principles and sustainable living, as well as building community networks and, above all, getting down and dirty and having fun.
Veritable Gardens is a company that myself and a few friends started about 4 years ago. We started permablitzing, and we got to a point where we realised our passion and we wanted to turn it into a job rather than a weekend hobby. At the end of the day, there's always an astonishment, and it's a feeling of wow. If we pull resources and work together, we can get stuff done, and we're moving in a healthy direction here, growing more food at home, tuning into nature, and so on.
It's an awesome concept.
It certainly is.
My backyard needs a bit of a blitz, actually.
Is that innuendo for anything, Anna?
No, Aaron.
Well, in that case, me too. And I love that there was a bit of car key in there. Big fan of the car key. Now, that was the first instalment of our new segment, Culture Club. Sounds like a good segment, doesn't it?
Yeah. Although I think today we could probably call it Permaculture Club, actually. Yeah. It's been a very... Don't
None
get
of
it?
them had perms. Let's move on.
Yeah, moving on. It's a very informative day with some switched-on, like-minded people.
Yeah, and it did look like a really fun day. Next few weeks on Melbourne 22 will be jam-packed with interesting and exciting stuff. We chat about small businesses, why spring is the perfect time to get your garden in order, and much more.
Now, don't forget that you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram to keep up to date with all the exciting things that we're up to during the week.
And there is plenty of it. But to take us out tonight, we have four-piece band, the Melbourne
you love
band,
your numbers
the
with
Zanes. Yeah, and it was playing their new song, the Zanes, Ghost of Your Summer. Thanks for watching, and good night.
Night-night.
She calls from the back fence. She says it's cool undercover. And do you like my new dress? She said you don't strike gold with a wrecking ball. Now you don't get to touch my bits at all. I know, I know. Your cautious step made a fool out of me, and I split the room's company. Oh, let's watch the carpet bleed. Well, I haven't found that politic or that screaming Jed. No, I haven't found the fire in you yet. She said you don't cut fish with